Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Here on the Monday edition of The Yard, it feels so good to win. It does. It feels so good to win. We have played 2 games. We are 2-0. We will take it. As I wrote yesterday, it is certainly possible to be pleased with the outcome but not completely satisfied with the performance. And I think that's where most people are. It's like, if I get on there and be like, oh, you think we lost the game. Yeah, I get it. But the reality is we all want the same things. That's for State to win, but also we want State to play well. And there were times on Saturday we didn't. We're going to talk about that very candidly today. We're also not going to underscore the fact that we did win the football game, right? We did win the game. We are 2-0. You didn't misremember that. We won the game. There is a scoreboard that's posted on each end of the football stadium. And when the time elapsed, Mississippi State had more points than Arizona. All that said, there were some things that we did over the course of that ball game to make that game closer than it should have been. And listen, take nothing away from Arizona. Those guys are very talented, especially in the trenches. Jaden DeLaura, as we said all week, is capable of leading that team into Davis-Wade Stadium and leaving with the victory. Comes up about a foot short of at least having the opportunity to do that. But very impressed with him. They turned him loose. He used his athleticism and at times used our defensive scheme against us. And that was kind of, you think about the kryptonite last year. The teams that really gave State some trouble were mobile quarterbacks. Because we vacate so much space in the middle of the field by bringing pressure. And when you don't get home, it opens up some running opportunities for the quarterback. And we're going to see another very mobile quarterback this week in Jaden Daniels. Probably the 2 most mobile quarterbacks we're going to see all year. Week 2, week 3. And then you get to Alabama. Milroe, obviously, maybe not the passer that those 2 guys are. But we're going to see some running quarterbacks this year. And you got to believe, too, that offensive coordinators around this league, they're going to see the success that DeLaura had and try to replicate that. I just don't know if they all have the athletes to do so. But, it's something that has kind of been a trend in recent years. The mobile quarterback, when things break down, has some running opportunities against Mississippi State. Jaden DeLaura exploited those this year. Didn't do it last year and was criticized for it. But they just kind of turned that kid loose, and he nearly pulled off a huge win for Arizona. But he didn't. We're 2-0. And big recruiting weekend, too, for Mississippi State in multiple sports. We'll talk about that later in the show. But we're going to jump right into our review of the game. We'll speak with Zach Arnett later today. You can find full coverage of Zach Arnett's press conference over at genespage.com. We'll also get multiple players this afternoon. And then this evening, we'll get coordinators. So busy day in Stark Vegas. So if you're looking for in-depth coverage as the Bulldogs prepare for LSU, look no further than genespage.com. Most of that content will be free. Yeah, that's right. Most of our team coverage is free. So you don't have to be a member. You should be. You should be. But if you're not, you can still come to genespage.com. Because we're going to give you more in-depth coverage than anybody, period. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. You may be surprised to know this. I have eaten at Bulldog Burger Company 3 of the last 8 days. That's right. Yeah, 3 of the last 8 days. And last night I didn't get the spring rolls because I thought, you know what, I've already done this like twice in the last week. Trying to save some women for the rest of y'all, right? No, I'm serious. I've got one woman. I love all women. I love one more than most. So we went and ate last night. Had a great time. My son Ian waited on us, but we had the sloppy Joe fries, which is a really cool appetizer too. So if you're looking to change it up a little bit, you get the French fries, the better French fries, topped with some sloppy Joe meat and sauce, some jalapeno, some cheese. It's fabulous. So if you're looking to change that up, let me mention that as an alternative. I had the Mississippi barbecue burger last night. And rather than get the Nutella shake to go, I got the special shake, and I understand it's been extremely popular, the M&M shake. Yeah, that's right. And then the bride and I walked around the Cotton District for a while. Kind of walked off some of those calories, right? I'm old. not as spry as I used to be. But man, what a great experience. And again, 3 times in 8 days. Love Bulldog Burger Company, man. 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive here in Star Vegas. That's a flagship. Gloucester Street over there in Tupelo. Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. One of the main things I like about that place is the consistency, but also, too, there are times they run some specials and kind of change things up a little bit. That's a really cool thing, too. Really, really cool thing, too. Go by and find your own favorites. There's great restaurant quality hamburgers, so many great ones to choose from. Always got something that'll cure what ails you, for sure. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's just go ahead and get into it. All right. Arizona wins the toss. They defer. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. We put together a great first drive. We didn't finish the drive off, and that kind of became a recurring theme for your Bulldogs. But we get going with Woody right out of the gate. We run off left side for 8. Then we go right to the right side for 14. Listen, guys, we're already right there within reach of the state script logo at midfield. We bring in Simeon Price. He gets 8. So look here, it's like they're not explosive plays, but we're gashing this Arizona defense early. 2nd and 2, already across the midfield, man. When we swing it out to Woody, who gets the first down, 1st and 10 at the Arizona 39. First false start penalty of the year, Nick Jones. He had a second one later in the ballgame. But the first pre-snap penalty on Mississippi State of the young season makes it 1st and 15. We're incomplete to Tulu, and this was basically an angle route, or a corner route, that we miss on because Tulu is open, and we just overthrow him. One of the few misfires that Will Rogers had. I don't know that he had enough opportunities in this ball game as a passer, but this is one that he missed on. 2nd and 15, Seth Davis, 3rd running back already. And if that is not maybe the recurrence of a theme, it's like, hey, we're going to run the football, but we're also going to do it by committee. Seth Davis runs off right side for 15 yards. We're just gashing them. This is a team that really did a good job against Northern Arizona against the run. Granted, a different brand of athlete. But we're having some success here. 1st and 10 at their 29. We're incomplete to Justin Robinson. We got to get him more involved. 2nd and 10. Woody runs off left side for 4, brings up a very manageable 3rd and 6. And then we take a shot to Jordan Mosley. It's a PI here, and if they didn't interfere, it's probably a touchdown. Would have liked to have had that. 1st and 10 at the Arizona 10. We swing it out to Tulu for 1. Woody runs, they call it off right, but it's really more towards between the tackles, and we get nothing. 3rd and 11, we get it out to Woody for 7, and I think our emotions got the better of us here. I think we wanted to go out there and punch them in the mouth and say, you know what, you got no chance to win this football game. And sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. We made a mistake here. Zach Arnett admitted that in postgame. You got to take points right here. And there are a lot of reasons why. Number one, you want to get a lead, right? Also, you want to cap a very successful drive with points. Give your offense a little juice. Instead, we go for it. And Justin Robinson did fumble, but this play was pretty much doomed from the start. We get it out there to him and give Martell some credit, man. That kid was everywhere. And forces a fumble. And unfortunately for us, the ball rolls through the end zone or out of bounds in the end zone and gives them a touchback. Because, the thinking is, hey, even if you don't get it, you got them hemmed up here inside their own 5. But we turn it over, and then they get it at the 20, and they have life. So rather than us making that emphatic statement on drive 1, we go down there and give them some confidence. It was short-lived, but that's the problem with gambling this early in a ball game. And a game, listen, Vegas had this as a single-digit favorite deal for State that ultimately State didn't cover. But when you know it's going to be a nip-and-tuck ball game, you can't be chasing points this early in the ball game. And I said it then, I'll say it again now. It was a mistake. There were times last year Leach went for it and I thought it was a mistake. I thought this is a situation, again, if you punch it in, it's significant. But the football play here is to take the points. Arizona starts at their 20. Delora complete to Michael Wiley, and this is a control pass, right? This is let's get our guy in a rhythm. Let's give him some easy reads, easy throws. Michael Wiley, a very, very good player from Arizona. Get it out to him for 8. Then they run a little bit of a kind of a tight end out action here and get it to Tanner McLaughlin, who has 6 in the first down. And then they hit Furge on a 15-yarder. I thought it was a little ticky-tack, to be honest with you. He did touch him, but there was not anything egregious there. Nevertheless, we're flagged for it. There is no review of that play, nor should there be. But automatically, you look up and they're already at midfield. Not good. Not good. They go back out to Wiley for 5, a very manageable, gain on first down. But, basically, it's kind of an extension of the running game, right? You want to get Wiley in space with a controlled throw, and Delora does a good job with that. Brings up 2nd and 5, and this is where we try to do a little too much if you're Arizona. Tried to ram one in there in traffic. Bookie Watson gets it off of the Marcus Banks PBU. And I read some comments, too. People were like, well, I thought it was pass interference there. No, it wasn't pass interference there. Marcus Banks has just as much right to the football as the Arkansas receiver. Period. Some people forget that. It's not like we're just supposed to ask for permission. We have a right to the football, too. This was not PI, nor should it have been PI. But it's a great development early on. So the teams have traded turnovers on their first drives. And you feel like, okay, we got to go in and make them pay here. And we do. So we set up shop at midfield, and Woody runs, they call it middle, but, it was really more of a cutback deal here. 21 yards here for Woody. And again, we're just absolutely gashing this defense. We go back to Woody for a 1-yard gain, brings up 2nd and 9. We go back to Woody in the middle for 5, makes it 3rd and 4. Very manageable 3rd and 4, but instead we take a shot here. And we get it out basically on a bubble out on the perimeter to Tulu. Extremely well blocked. Because sometimes that's what happens. Tulu gets his name in the box score, but the 2 receivers out there that had really good seal blocks enabled him to get loose, and he wins the foot race to the end zone. They review it to make sure that he got in. His foot did touch out of bounds, but it appeared that the ball was across a pylon when it did. So the ruling stands. When confirmed, it stood, and that's going to be significant later in our discussion today. Extra point is good. 7 at the Mississippi State. The ensuing kickoff is a touchback. You got to feel like Delara's thinking right here, okay, made a mistake last time, we'll be okay. We had some things to feel good about on that drive. They try to get it to Jacob Cowing, who is an electric player. He really is. And it's a 1-yard loss. Sean Preston with a big, big play. I thought Sean had a really good game. The box score bears that out too. 2nd and 11. They give it to Wiley, who runs right for 2. Makes it 3rd and 9. And again, kind of forcing the action here. Jet Johnson reads Delora off the snap. Jet's back there in his zone. He just reads and reads and reads and reads and reads, and they try to force it into Cowing, and Jet undercuts the route and returns it 30 yards to the Arizona 6. Amazing starting field position. So bear in mind here, outside of the opening kick, State's 2 drives here late, the 2 scoring drives late in the first quarter. One begins at the 50, the other begins at the Arizona 6. Very favorable field position, to say the least. 1st and goal from the 6, we give it to Woody, who gets 5, and down to the 1. He stumbled into the end zone, kind of flipped himself over there, but he was down. We go right back to him with rental tempo there, and we get him in the end zone. Extra point's good. It's 14-0. Hawks kickoff this time comes down at the Arizona 2. 18-yard return for Michael Wiley. So, again, Arizona with a chance here. Kind of climb back into the ball game. Still first quarter, right? You look at it and say, hey, it's 14-0. If you're Arizona, you're starting to panic a little bit maybe. It's like, it's a long ball game, but man, not a great start. Got some juice early on, but the juice has been flowing maroon and white the previous 2 drives. All right, so 1st and 10 from their 20. DJ Williams is going to run up the middle, and Trevion Williams fits a gap there. It's a 1-yard loss, makes it 2nd and 11. They get out to Michael Wiley again. I mean, it's kind of like the way we used to use Woody in the air raid, right? Just get him out there in the flats. A lot of times it's a check down or whatever, but sometimes there's some design plays where he's a primary option in the passing game. But you get it out there to Wiley for 7. It's 3rd and 4, and again, you look at this and say, okay, what's the smart football play? The last thing you want to do is turn it over again. That's exactly what happens. And I've read some people talking about, well, yeah, it was just a great effort by Preston, which it was. It was. However, bad decision by Jaden DeLaura. You don't throw that corner route into double coverage. State had high-low coverage here. I mean, it's got to be a perfect pass. And it nearly was. Give DeLaura some credit. He puts it on Cowing's hands, but Sean Preston clearly has done more push-ups because he rips that football away for an interception. A great play by Sean Preston. And Esias Ferge also got a PBU on the play. Bad decision. Now it's 3 picks in the first quarter. DeLaura did not play most of the fourth quarter at Arizona last year, and I tweeted this out. In less than 5 periods of play, DeLaura had thrown 6 picks to Mississippi State defense. We clearly bother him. All right, State sets up at the 48. Again, here we are at midfield with the short field. 50, 1st and goal at the 6, and on to 48. There's going to be a test later. Tulu Griffin runs off left side for 2 yards and a loss. And this we got a little bit too cute here. It's like, we have the ball at midfield. We have a 2-possession lead. Let's not get too cute. And I thought we did here. And it seems like every time it's Tulu that has to handle all that, right? It always seems like sometimes we try to do a little too much with Tulu in the run game, and we kind of outsmart ourselves, and that's kind of how it felt here. We go to Woody for 6, and then we run off left side, makes it a 4th and 4 deal, and Andrew Osteen punts 40 yards down to the Arizona 6. So you got to pin back deep. Again, State winning the battle of field position here and winning the football game. Arizona's about to put together an incredible drive here. It begins with 11 seconds to go in the first quarter. Michael Wiley runs off left side for 2, and that's the end of 1. And again, you've got him pinned back deep, and you think, okay, surely we'll get a punt here, and we'll get take ball possession again for the 3rd consecutive time around midfield. That's not what happens, though. 2nd and 8 from the Arizona 8. DeLaura is complete to Montana Lamonius Craig, former Colorado wide receiver, for 8. That's a 1st down. That's his first touch of the game. Michael Wiley then runs off left side for 2. DeLaura complete to Michael Wiley for 8. Moves the chains, 1st and 10, 26. Starting to find a little rhythm in his controlled passing game. Working outside the numbers rather than the middle of the field. That's where he got in trouble when he tried to really kind of extend the game inside the numbers. 1st and 10 from the 26. Michael Wiley runs off right side for 8. They go back to him for 3. To make it a 2nd, that was a 2nd, excuse me, makes it a 1st down. Rashawn Luke then runs off left side for 2. Incomplete to Roberto Miranda, which makes it a 3rd and 8, a chance for us to get off the field. We don't. They get it out to Jonah Coleman for 10 yards and basically wide open. And give them some credit schematically here for being able to get those guys out there. We have 11, they have 11. Right? I mean, sometimes you forget that. We have 11, they have 11. One of theirs is a quarterback. But there were times they did some things schematically to get guys underneath out in the flats and get them in space. We didn't always handle it well. All right, 1st and 10 from the Arizona 49 is complete to Tetaroa McMillan for 7 yards, down to the MSU 44. Jonah Coleman then runs for a 1-yard gain, and then DeLaura on 3rd and 2 here. We're bringing the heat, bringing a run blitz because we're doing all we can to stop them from running the football, to make DeLaura win the game for them. He nearly did. And DeLaura just takes off and goes. 13 yards, really gashes us here. 1st and 10 now at the State 30. They bring Mike Wiley on an inside handoff here, and great job by Jaden Crumby kind of setting the edge and forcing the action farther outside. Asias Furge with a nice tackle. 2nd and 13, what do you know? We bring pressure. And it's interesting, I noted this earlier, based on the information that I saw, there were 40 dropbacks for DeLaura, and 21 of them State had pressure. Just didn't get the sacks. You only had 2 last year. I mean, this is again, one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the country. 3rd and 2, they try to go to McMillan, and Deontay Anderson gets a hand up there. Nice play, and again, quarterback hurry by Jaden Crumby. Brings up a 4th and 2. They decide to go for it. And why not? And good for them, right? I mean, you're down 14-0. You got to get some juice, not to mention you get the ball first coming out of the half. If you turn it over here, State's still got to drive 70, 75 yards. Dolores complete to Wiley for 8. Again, kind of scheming us up a little bit there. Makes it 1st and 10 at the State 14. Wiley rushes right side for 6. They go back to him for 2 up the middle, which brings up a 3rd and 2. They try to run a little action here and bring Cowing behind the formation. Like everybody's flowing away. He comes back across, again, trying to scheme us up and get him in space. Well, Sean Preston wasn't fooled. Wasn't fooled at all. He jumps it. He hits Jacob Cowing. It absolutely is a fumble. And Hunter Washington picks it up. And it's returned 23 yards to the MSU 41. And you think, okay, here's a chance for us to really kind of put them away. And you can only begin to imagine how incredibly frustrating that has to be for Arizona. It's like, okay, we've thrown 3 picks, and we're still in the game. Okay, now we put together a successful drive. We're going to go down here and at least get some points. And after 19 plays, the 19th play of the drive, Sean Preston takes it away. And it's not like Cowan just drops the football. Preston separates him from the football. Good defense. And you got to think, if you're Arizona right here and now, you're thinking, you know what, it's not our day. But give DeLaura and that staff and that leadership of that team a lot of credit. They didn't quit. They probably should have. A lot of teams would have. Give them credit. They have some real grit. We take over 1st and 10 at our 41. Woody up the middle for 6. We go back to that well again and get 3. Brings up a 3rd and 1, and then there's a false start. Nick Jones, the 2nd pre-snap penalty of the year for Mississippi State. Both of them just happen to be on Nick. All right, 3rd and 6, and we do a great job here getting it to Jaden Wiley, who gets across the line for the 1st down. In addition to that, Justin Flo is called for illegal hands to the face. Gives us 15. Now it's at the Arizona 34. And now if you're like me, I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe not the death blow, but this is probably a pretty big body blow coming here. That, hey, we had an extended drive. We got nothing, and those guys capitalized on it. And now it's a 3-score game going to the halftime. Kind of negates a lot, right? That's what you're thinking. That's what we're all thinking. State's going to go ahead and put this thing away. We're all going to be able to enjoy the rest of the evening kind of anxiety-free. That's how it felt. All right, 1st and 10 from the Arizona 34. We give it to Woody. He gets nothing. We go back to Woody, who gets 5 off the right side. Give it to him again, and it's, hey, we get 3 off the left. Makes it 4th and 2. And again, here we are. It's a statement play. You could probably kick here. You probably could. But again, you're looking for a kill shot. That's what you're looking for. We go for it on 4th and 2. And again, it's just absolutely debilitating for a defense. You're all geared up in the run blitz, and then Woody bounces through there for 12. It's crazy. 12. Now it's at the Arizona 14. You're thinking, okay, what's this at? And sure enough, we run for a touchdown here, but it's called back on a holding call against Cole Smith, the first hold of the young season on the Bulldogs. Yes, he held. He did. Period. Wasn't necessary. I think Woody's going to get through there anyway, but it starts out, Cole's in great shape, has the hands inside, really kind of controlling the encounter. Norton's a big dude, though. Bigger than Cole. He is. But Cole does a good job kind of getting his feet behind him, dipping those hips, and he is controlling the encounter, and then, Norton shifts, and we don't let him go. You got to disengage there. We don't, and we get flagged for it. It costs us a touchdown, and it was very significant, not just in the moment and in this possession, But in the grand scheme of the drive, that penalty was very, very significant. It never comes down to one play, but that's one you wish you'd had back. Now it's 1st and 20 at the Arizona 24. We give it to Seth Davis, who gets 10. Now all of a sudden, hey, okay, all right, look, cool, right? The first Seth Davis carry got nothing. The second one gets 10. So now it's 3rd and 10, 48 seconds to go, and we decide to take a shot here, and they get to us. They brought the house and got home. I don't know if we didn't pick it up in pre-snap read or they just disguised it really well, but they made the play we didn't. Makes it 4th and 19. Kyle Ferry hooks it right, and so we miss the field goal there and a chance to make it a 3-score game. And you got to feel like if you're Arizona, it's like, hey, it's 40 seconds, man, but, we got a guy out here that can sling it a country mile. And, yes, we've had some picks, but what do we have to lose? Because if we get anything here before the half in a 14-0 ball game and get the ball coming out, now we got a game. That's exactly what happened, and it's inexcusable. Give them credit, but give us a demerit or two for how we played this final possession. It's like we just thought they were just going to go into the locker room. And we saw our Waterloo. We had a chance to go overcome that, and we didn't. 1st and 10 from our 23. Dolores complete to McMillan for 6. DeKim runs him out of bounds. 2nd and 4. Incomplete to Montana Lamonius Craig, and they flag Ferge for pass interference. And what's so interesting about that, too, is that play, the review there, saved us 37 yards. And then we talked about the Waterloo. This is it. Okay, you knew they were going to come out bombing here. At least that's how it felt. And so they throw a warning shot here. Initially ruled the pass complete. It wasn't complete. It was a pretty obvious incompletion once you saw the replay. And not to take anything away from Lamonius Craig. Kid made an outstanding effort on the play. All while being interfered with. But the review saved State 37 down. So instead of having it on our side of the field within, reasonable striking distance, they're back across the 50. You think, okay, all right, we survived that. 23 seconds to go, 44, Arizona 44, 56 yards. We just got to make a play. And somehow, some way, we let Tetaroa McMillan get behind us. And he may be Arizona's best player. Honestly, this guy's a pro. Incredible. And somehow, we don't make a play here. We let this individual effort exceed ours. And that Dolores just throwing it up there. I'm sure he's thinking, hey, it's 23 seconds to go in the half. If they pick it off, it basically serves as a punt. So I'm just going to gear up here and throw it as far as I can. Hopefully my guy gets under it. He does. 55 yards down to the State 1. And then they decide to go no huddle here, and just kind of on his own, DeLaura makes the sneak here. Now, obviously, we don't have access to every view, but looking at the overhead view last night, he didn't get in. I think the call was kind of anticipated because DeLaura did not have the football as he crossed the goal line. The truth of the matter is, you can't sit there and complain about that when you don't make the play. Arizona shouldn't have been in that situation. And DeLaura takes full advantage. We deserved to get scored on there. And even though you look at it and say, you know what, he didn't get in, he didn't. But we earned it. We earned that. We earned, because of our inconsistent play on that final drive, we deserve to have Arizona score. Simple as that. And give them credit for DeLaura. Hey, good throw, great effort by McMillan. We didn't give him anything. They took it. But we didn't play well. Not in that situation. We did not handle that scenario well in any way whatsoever. And so it's this kind of poetic justice that they score there. So give them credit. Extra point is good. And then, they flag us for unsportsmanlike conduct where Jaden Crumity roughs the snapper. Deep snapper's a protected player. And we basically leaped on top of him. That penalty well deserved. And then they give a touchback here, and then we kneel down, and that's the end of the half. And you look up and say, man, State's pretty much dominated this ball game. And it's like, what, it's 14-7? How? How is it 14-7? Well, you didn't finish drives on offense, and then they have this little, fire drill play at the end of the half, and their guy wins. Arizona, to their credit, didn't quit. But State had the chance to really beat them into submission in that first half and didn't do it. You let teams like Arizona hang around and start getting some belief, you end up in a dogfight. And I said it for a week. I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so, but I did. This is an improved Arizona team, and we were in a fight. I said, don't look at that score last year. We won 39-17. You think, oh, it's the same thing. Arizona had the full benefit of looking at how Zach Arnett defensed him last year. You don't think DeLaura and those guys said, okay, let's learn from that. Let's work a little more horizontally and kind of negate the pass rush. And you know what? When they vacate the middle, Jay, just turn off and go. It's going to make plays happen. So they had the benefit of that. And they used it. And it's like you look up here and you think to yourself, this is the first half stats. Shouldn't even be close. But they were. And a lot of it's because of the fact that, Arizona had a couple of sustained drives and no really points to show for it until that final drive before the half. State got incredible field position throughout the half. And you've got to cash that in. But instead, it's a 14-7 game at the half. Hey, Bulldog fans, do you enjoy live entertainment like I do? I'm always going to rock shows or going to ball games. I'm always going somewhere that requires a ticket. So when you're looking for tickets to your next game, concert, or show, make shopping for tickets a little bit easier with TickPick, the original no-fee ticket marketplace that brings you the best prices for all the events you love. And now, TickPick is partnering with Zip, so you can shop now and pay later. How cool is that? Zip allows you to shop at TickPick and split your payment into easy monthly installments. Visit TickPick.com and use promo code ZIP20 for $20 off your first purchase of $199 or more with Zip. Zip can only be used for U.S. purchases, and Zip may charge a fee at checkout. Certain merchant products, goods, and service restrictions may apply. See Zip's terms of service at www.zip.co/US. Loans to the Zip app are originated by WebBank, except for Zip-originated loans in Colorado, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Shop for all your tickets at TickPick.com and check out with Zip to split your payments into easy installments. Zip makes it easier than ever before to get your tickets now and pay for them later at TickPick.com. Check out with Zip at TickPick.com. Hey, Bulldog fans. You hosting a big shindig soon, maybe a horror movie marathon, maybe an impromptu game night with friends. You want to get cozy with friends and family and maybe even serve up some pumpkin beers? Yeah, great. Well, don't do it without Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can find all the right drinks for whatever you're planning and get them delivered directly to your door. Boom, hosting handled. Now, before you get back to folding napkins and carving pumpkins, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com/hosting/handled today. Again, that's drizzly.com, DRZLY.com/hosting-handled today. Must be 21 plus and not available in all locations. All right, let's jump into the second half here. And again, I told Mike Nemeth this is a significant drive here for Mississippi State. Arizona's coming out again. That I'm sure they're thinking, you know what, as bad as we played, guys, we're down a touchdown. There's no way we can play that bad in the second half, and they didn't. And you just knew. I told Mike Nemeth when that third down came up, I said, Mike, I hate to oversell the point here, but I think this is a very significant play in the game. And how they got there, incomplete to McMillan. And listen, I appreciate that. Come out there, try to get him involved. That's your guy. Then it's a false start penalty. Makes it a 2nd and 15. They run Michael Wiley on the right side for just 2. Brings up a 3rd and 13. And they just check it down to Wiley. Good job from State here coverage-wise. And get the 37-yard punt, and Xavion Thomas fills it at the State 45 and returns it to Arizona 30. And you're thinking, yeah, that's exactly what we needed right there. You get the 3 and out. You get favorable field position, better than we probably anticipated. And you turn it into points. We on 1st and 10 from their 30, we give it to Woody off right side for 2. We go back to the right side for 7 with Woody. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 1. We go left side this time for 6. 1st and 10 from their 15, and we had dealer's choice here. Will could have gone to Robinson or Tulu. Both were open on the play, but he gets Tulu. Extra point is good. It's 21-7, and now everybody's kind of relaxing. So, hey, Steve, okay, yeah, we survived a scare. We hadn't played well, but now we've got some separation. We're good. Arizona's like, not so fast. Not so fast, as our buddy Lee Corso would say. Touchback. Has the ball 1st and 10 at their 25. Dolores complete to Jonah Coleman for just 1. And they're incomplete to Jonah Coleman and Sean Preston all in the face of Jaden Delora. He basically just kind of threw that ball away. What intentional grounding, but it was very intentional in what he did, trying to protect himself and not take a negative play here. All right, so it's 3rd and 9. You think, okay, a chance for us to get off the field. And somehow we lose Jonah Coleman. And they get 11. 1st down. 1st and 10 now. And they run Coleman right side, and we get a stop here. Again, 2nd and 10. They get it to McMillan, who has 7, and then they flag us for illegal substitution, which is the right call. Crumity hadn't gotten off the field yet, so heads up play by Delora. Take advantage of free play. Makes it 2nd and 5. He hits Lamonius Craig for 12. And this is a guy that can play. I mean, this is not just like some kid that just showed up one day. This kid's proven he can do it. The play is nullified, though, to an ineligible downfield. And it was pretty obvious. But I didn't understand how we continued to let Lamonius Craig get open. That's the thing I think about is Arizona offense. It's like, okay, you got to prepare for Cowley and McMillan, 2 different brands of receivers, both especially skilled. We talked all week about the offensive skill at Arizona is comparable to SEC talent. I think now you see it. Now you throw Montana Lamonius Craig into the mix. Arizona may prove to be a little better than I thought. All right, 2nd 5. 2nd 10, excuse me. They're complete to McMillan for 21 yards here. It's rough, man. It's rough. You can't let that big guy get out and go, man. That guy's a really, really good player. All right, 1st and 10. We bring some pressure, and then Delora gets loose and runs again for 10 yards and moves the chains. 1st and 10 at our 32. Rayshawn Luke then runs right side for 9. 2nd and 1. They keep finding Lamonius Craig. It's like, did we just forget him? Maybe we did. 6 yards here. In the red zone now, 1st and 10 at our 17. Incomplete to Rayshawn Luke. Marcus Banks with the PBU there. And listen, Rayshawn Luke may be the fastest kid on the Arizona team. Marcus Banks may be the fastest guy on the Bulldog defense. Great play by Banks here. They basically just kind of won a will route action here. And Banks was with Luke step for step. Great play. 2nd 17. They swing it out to Cowing. He makes a guy miss and dances around and then dives for the pylon, and he's in. And a guy like Jacob Cowan, you're only going to keep him down for so long. 1st and 10, they take the extra point there, and makes it 21-14. Now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need to go answer here. Get anything. Get a field goal, anything. You start kind of eating this clock up a little bit because you feel like in that 4th quarter we can ride the running game to victory. That's how it felt. One of the best defensive possessions of the game for Arizona. 1st and 10, we give it to Seth, who goes up the middle for 4. We go back to Seth Davis for 5 here. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 1. We bring in Jeffrey Pittman, the specialist, the short yardage specialist here. I don't know if he just didn't see the hole. There was some room to the right, kind of off right guard. Kind of popped that over there, but instead give them credit. Jacob Manu was there. They made the tackle, and it's, we get nothing out of it. Jeffrey Pittman with a full head of steam is awfully difficult to stop. So we can call play call, we can call play execution. All means the same thing. It's 4th and 1. Keelan Crimmon's punts 40 yards. Jacob Cowan with the fair catch to Arizona 30. Very, very significant. Very significant drive in the ballgame right here. Arizona has a chance to really make some things happen here. They have all the momentum at this point. Every bit of it. They've had the touchdown drive. Great defensive sequence. Not bad field position. At their 30, Delara gets it out to Cowing for 9. 2nd and 1. Wiley runs off right side for 12. And at this point, you're thinking, you know what? They're fixing to tie this ball game. 1st and 10 out in their midfield, incomplete to Michael Wiley. Great play by Bookie Watson. 2nd and 10. Dolores complete left to Cowing for 5. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 5. They throw it out to Wiley, and it's a 2-yard loss. Great play here by Bookie Watson, Trevion Williams. Makes it 4th and 7. They like to punt. That's the right call. Big drive for State right there. This thing could have actually cascaded into an absolute disaster if they score here. All right. I'm going to tell you something I disagreed with right here. The final possession of the 3rd quarter belonged to Mississippi State. We get it out to Simeon Price. He gets a little bit banged up. 2nd and 2. We complete to Woody, and he swings it out there 13 yards. And so 1st and 10 out our 33. Guys, I'm letting the clock run out. See, I disagree with this, and it seems kind of insignificant at the time. When I'm playing with the lead, I want the clock to run. If I'm playing from behind, I'm going to get as many snaps as I can get in before the quarter break. We run left side for Woody, and he gets hurt on top of it. So we get the 6 yards. I just don't understand the wisdom. Why are we in such a hurry? We have the lead and the football, and we can go ahead and start milking that 4th quarter clock, but instead we try to sneak one more snap in that really doesn't serve us any benefit as it relates to clock management. 2nd and 4, and Woody's in the locker room, guys. I knew he'd be back. I didn't know it would take as long as it did. But now all of a sudden, you're trying to put a drive together to put the game away, and arguably your best player is unavailable to you. Now, guys get hurt, injuries are part of football, right? But it's just kind of interesting. You rush that play up there, and the next thing you know, your guy's banged up, and he's tough. Woody always comes back. But 2nd and 4, you complete the Tulu for 9, so now we're out in their midfield, and you're thinking, okay, hey, we're good. 1st and 10, near midfield at our 48. We take a shot here. It's incomplete to Tulu. 2nd and 10, we give it to Jeffrey Pittman, who has 1 yard, and then Will Roger to sacked for 6, a 6-yard loss. This is the kind of stuff that gets to you, right? You got a chance to open up and get some separation here, and basically after the 9-yard pass to Tulu to give us the 1st down, it's an incompletion. We get 1 yard and a loss of 6. So it's a net loss of 5 yards on those final 3 plays of the possession. Not good. Not good. Now, I think some of the conservative play calling is associated with this sequence is probably because of the fact Woody's in the locker room. But somebody besides Woody's got to make a play. Later in the game they did, but this is a drive right here. It just kind of felt like things are wearing down, and and like I've seen people talk about play calling. Let me remind you this. You don't know what play was called. You just know what play was ran. And sometimes the play gets changed at the line of scrimmage. Sometimes there's a look they give us, and that's changed from the sidelines. So there's things that happen. But I always have our play calling is terrible. Okay, tell me what play was called. Oh, well, we ran this. What? How do you know that's what was called? At the end of the day, sometimes we learn these buzzwords. I got to be too careful. I got to be careful. I don't be too specific because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But it's like I read through some of the stuff on Twitter sometimes, and I'm like, this never happened. It's like we want to get the hot take out there. And it's like we get some terminology, and it's like, oh, well, they ran the triple Indy, and it didn't work. Like, what? They did what? And it's just like there's so many things. Again, let's just focus on what is, right? Rather than focus on what we think should be. And focus on what maybe, we heard on Madden. Oh, we played Madden. Oh yeah. So this is the play on Madden. We're running this, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's like we just learned the little buzzwords to try to develop some internet cred. But the bottom line is this: Arizona's got the football. The chance to tie this football game in the 4th quarter at Davis Wade Stadium in a game that we should already have some separation. And again, take nothing away from Arizona. But State should be up 2 scores right here. We're not. And it mattered. First and 10 from the Arizona 20. Dellara is complete to McMillan for 4. Incomplete back to McMillan. Makes it a 3rd and 6. Chance for us to get off the field. And they find Lamonius Craig again. But he is stopped short of the line of the gain. Brings up 4th and 1. A chance for us to get off the field. This is just kind of one of those destiny drives for Dellara. He's like, you know what? We're just going to go. And they did. And I tell you this, DCAM nearly made them eat it right here. He did get to the 30-yard line. They swing it out to Cowan. DCAM gets off a block and makes a very physical tackle. And in live action, it looked like he might be a little bit short. He wasn't. It was the right call. So they get the first down there, but DCAM all over it. And again, makes a good play there. Of course, you say, well, did they move the chains? But very competitive play. Kind of set things up for later. 1st and 10. They swing it out to McLaughlin, and he gets loose. I don't know how. It's like you look at it, not to take nothing away from McLaughlin, but it's like, how is he finding this much room to operate? Why are we playing so soft? It's a touchdown lead in the 4th quarter. I know you want to make a march down the field. You want to avoid the big play. But how is a tight end running that wide open? 1st and 10. They run off right side to Michael Wiley. And again, give Fish and those guys. They know how to get their guys in space. They do. All right, 1st and 10 from our 15. It's complete to McLaughlin for 5. It gets it down to the 10. Isaac Smith and Jet Johnson on the tackle. 2nd 5, we get Dellara. They call it a sack. We basically just ran him out of bounds, right? So it's in the box score as a sack. And yes, it counts, but we never got him on the ground. You know what I'm saying? It's like we didn't have that big emphatic play that gets everybody on their feet. It goes in the box score as a sack. And Jet's credited with that. But, it's interesting. It is. It looks, we got to find a way to get the quarterback on the ground. All right, 3rd and 6. And this is just two guys used to playing 7-on-7 with each other. We initially cover up McMillan here, and he just keeps working. If you notice, Dellara kind of has to reload. It's like he's ready to move on from it, and all of a sudden he sees McMillan in a mismatch, and so he throws it up so his guy can go up and get it. Worst case scenario, it's incomplete, right? But instead, McMillan skies and makes the catch. Extra point is good. They review it, and listen, based on the angle they showed on ESPN, I could see why some may think he went out of bounds, but there was no definitive look. And so it stands. It's not a play that's confirmed, it stands. And again, with 1,000 cameras out there these days, I don't know how we can't see that. And again, he may have stayed in bounds. But it appeared that as he was kind of repositioning himself that he did step on the white line, but there's no definitive look to prove that, right? And, of course, if you're a Mississippi State guy, you're saying, oh, he's out. If you're an Arizona guy, you're saying, oh, he's in. Either way, the referees ruled him in. It's a touchdown. Extra point's good. It's 21-all with 9:14 to play. This kind of stuff, it aggravates you, man. You start thinking, how in the world are we in this position? All right, so we need to go make something happen. And I think this is what we do here. I think we just said, we'll go win us a football game. Will Rogers, one of the most prolific passers in the history of the Southeastern Conference. Sometimes you got to let Will do what he does. This is what we do on this drive. 1st and 10 from our 25. We go empty, and we complete that ball to Tulu and gets 37. Kind of a silly frustration play here. And Isaiah Taylor hits Tulu probably a step and a half, 2 steps into the white. Tack on 15 yards. Now it's down to the Arizona 23, and you start thinking, okay, at the very least, we'll take the lead. We needed to get a touchdown here, guys. And I don't know why we just didn't let Will run the show. That's the thing I look at here, and I think about in this situation here, when you have them on the ropes, and you got, okay, there's this big emotional release, oh, we're finally tied, and you come right back and you counterpunch, and you've got them on their heels. Keep them on their heels. I'd go tempo here. Let Will do it. Let Will call the plays, right? 1st and 10 through 23. We run right with Woody for 6. Brings up a 2nd 4 from the 17. We go back to Woody for 1. Big 3rd and 3. We call timeout. I was glad we did. There was no need to rush. That's why they give you timeouts, right? Let's talk about this. And we come out of that, and we run for a 2-yard loss. And that's not a reflection of Woody. There was absolutely nothing there. Arizona ate this play up. And so you want to talk about play calling, I can get down with you on this one. Because on 3rd and 3, and you want to see, a lot of times in these situations, And, playing for Coach Bowser, it's one of the things he used to always talk about. It's not always about a play call. It's about what do we do to get the ball in the hands of a guy that can make a play for us. Okay, well, we accomplished that here, but we didn't really put him in a situation where he could be successful. Period. This is the one play call I'll look at and say, again, I don't know what the play was called. I don't know what the net result was. One of the most significant plays in the ball game, we go backwards 2 yards. I didn't like it. And again, give Arizona some credit. They got penetration, made some things happen. 4th and 5, field goal attempt is good. State's back ahead, 24-21. You're relieved to be ahead, but you feel like, again, you're kind of unfulfilled. That's how it felt to me. It's like, okay, I'm happy to be back on top, but we got to give the football back to these guys, and they've got some juice. 24-21 with 6:47 to play. Delora is complete to Tanner McLaughlin again. 8 yards out to the Arizona 33. 2nd and 2, they're complete to McMillan again, and he's the dude. He is. Who else would you dial up here? Cowan? Yeah, maybe. But Cowan gets a lot of attention. McMillan's a special gifted athlete. He really is. 2nd and 2, of course, that's complete. And then 1st and 10, Delora rushes off left side for a 2-yard gain. 2nd and 8, Jacob Cowan, little puff pass to him, gets 3. 3rd and 5, and pretty crazy situation here, right? He did hook Cowan coming out of the break, and so they call it holding instead of PI because the ball wasn't catchable, even for a fat guy like Cowan. But yeah, DCAM's got to do a better job there. You can get your hands on him, you just can't hook him. May have even actually negated a big play. But it brings up 1st and 10, and they're across midfield now, and you think, okay, Delora's thinking, okay, this is it. This is the destiny drive, right? This is my moment of, redemption after last year's game and having a bad first half. Forces the action here. Batted away by DeCarlos Nicholson, who played really good in the second half. Played in place of Ferge, and I think maybe that's the starting lineup next week. And then Judd Johnson plucks it out of the air for a second pick of the game and returns it 3 yards. And this right here, guys, this should have been it. This should have been it. Yes, Arizona had 3 timeouts to work with. You got the 4-minute offense. You got to salt this game away. This should have been it. The big defensive play, you've taken the lead, you get the stop, 4-minute offense. This should have been the curtain call. But it wasn't. We run Woody off the right side for 4. You're letting it run down. We bring Mike Wright in the game. And I'll tell you this, and I said this on Bo Bound's show earlier. We've got to let Mike Wright throw the football. Arizona completely sold out. Johnny Nansen, he's made his mind up and said, you know what, if this kid's going to beat us, he's going to beat us throwing the football. Every linebacker on the Arizona defense, every time Mike Wright was on the field, fit a gap. They brought an all-out blitz every time Mike Wright got on the field. Every single time. We've gotten predictable with it. We have. And next thing you know, it's a 3-yard loss. Mike had no chance on this play. And if you go back and look, when you watch on the DVR, every single time Mike Wright is on the field, every time, Arizona goes all-out blitz. They do. And the way that you negate that is you have him throw the football, right? You give him some quick hitters. You have him throw that inside slant. You have him hit somebody in an angle route, or you run a screen. You've got to use people's aggressiveness. And it's funny, you think, Mike Wright was a starting quarterback for 2 years at Vanderbilt. But in this offense, it's pretty clear that maybe we're setting up something for later. But anytime that we had Mike in the ball game, Arizona was determined to make it a negative play, and more times than not, they did. All right, 3rd and 9, we bring Rodgers back in, and it's incomplete, and they flag us for holding and decline it. So we got to get the ball back to him. So again, every bit of this I look at, and look, I get it. You bring Mike Wright in thinking, you know what, let's just kind of salt this game away. And maybe you don't want to put the ball in the air, but the reality of it is that the way that Arizona was defending us, I think maybe you keep Will out there. I do. Because based on what they were doing, I think that's an in-game adjustment you got to make. We punt, 37-yard punt, and I'm going to just be honest with you guys, we're not getting enough out of the punting game. And like you say, well, it's 37 yards. Yeah, I get it. but 37 yards is not enough. Late in a ball game like this where you're trying to flip the field, that's just not significant. That, in special teams has been good. The punting aspect of it is just we have been mediocre in that punting. It's just 2 games, and I understand you got freshmen, you new guys out there, but the punting situation has to improve. Arizona takes over with 2:36 to go. Full complement of timeouts available. Dolores complete the McMillan, and again, right here you thought we were going to lose the ball game, didn't you? They hit McMillan. He gets loose of 49 yards. He gets pushed out of bounds. He goes the distance, but he was out. He knew it. Everybody else did too. Maybe a few Arizona fans kind of tucked away on the opposite corner. They probably didn't have a good vantage point, but it felt like we're in trouble. It's like you played this game and you let these guys hang around, and here it is. And Delora now, everything, all the sins of earlier have been forgiven, right? Just go win the game, kid. And here he is with a big, big play, and McMillan absolutely wide open. Absolutely wide open. 1st and 10 from our 27, one of the most significant plays in the ballgame. And it's Jet Johnson. And yep, Buki sets the edge, and Jet knives through Michael Wiley. And again, he's a big part of things. Very talented player. And Jet is completely gassed. You know it. Been on the field forever. And somehow, some way, Jet Johnson finds like an extra gear. And he knives through the hole and hits Wiley for a 3-yard loss. It's very significant because it puts them behind the chains here. You say, Steve, it's just 3 yards. Yeah, it's really not, though. They get a positive play there and you get a manageable 2nd down. All of a sudden, your play call defensively changes. But you put them in 2nd and 13, you can run some cloud coverage here and keep guys in front of you. 2nd and 13, Delora gets loose and gets it out to Jacob Cowing. And again, Jet Johnson making a tackle just short of the line to gain. Makes it 3rd and 1. And they decide to run a little zone read action here. And Michael Wiley and Jaden Delora both got tackled. The state defense just envelops them and engulfs them. And there's a 1-yard loss on the play. But again, that scenario never unfolds without 2 back-to-back plays from Jet Johnson. And of course, it's a team game. But you put them in an obvious passing situation in 2nd and 13. You play cloud, keep them in front of you, force a 3rd down play, give your big front a chance to make some plays, and they do. Arizona lets the clock wind down, and a lot of people question, why did we not call timeouts here, to give ourselves a chance to avoid overtime? I don't know. It depends on how you want to manage things. But the reality of it is I think that you're just going to leave the pressure on them, because worst case scenario, you're tied and head to overtime. So the field goal from Tyler Loop is good, which most of them are. Fantastic kicker. And now it's 24-24. State gets the ball with 5 seconds to play. We take the knee, and we get ready to head to overtime. Arizona wins the toss again. They elect to go on defense. And Will picks the student section, which is always the right play, because our students do a tremendous job. And tip of the cap to all of our students that stayed to the very end. Just about everybody did. It was such an exciting game. So we get going here, and Will takes off and runs, and it's negated by a holding call. Makes it 1st and 20 from the Arizona 35. Right now you're thinking, this ain't good. This is not good, especially with the Tyler Loop as their kicker. It's like if they get a stop here, they could just basically run off tackle for 3 plays and kick a field goal. And as good as Loop is, he might just walk out there and knock it through on the first play. You wouldn't do that, but he's good. It's not good, man. You start thinking 1st and 20, and we get it out to Woody for 6, which makes it 2nd and 14. What's your play call here on 2nd and 14? Well, you actually kind of work off some of the action you've set up, that fly action, right? So you bring Woody, put the 2-back set, you have Woody, the right back offset, go in motion left, as if you're going to swing it back out to him, which you've done multiple times in the game. And Will said in postgame, he looked up and they had nobody out on the right-hand side. He goes, I look up and like all the backers on the inside, the safeties on the inside. Maldonado goes with Woody in man coverage. We had 3 offensive linemen out there, and only 1 got a block. And I think, as Will said, we don't know if we ever touched him, and we didn't. We couldn't get to him, and he couldn't get to us either. But you pump that little swing out pass to Woody, reset the feet, and hit Jeffrey Pittman for the screen. And guys, there was nothing but green grass and glory in front of Jeffrey Pittman. And great job of him anticipating contact at the very end, right? The safety's coming over, and he kind of dives back towards the left so he's not forced out of bounds here. And it's a touchdown. First touchdown for Jeffrey Pittman. An incredible play. Great addition to our team. Extra points good. It's 31-24, and you know now we just got to get a stop. We just got to get a stop. And maybe because we were so emotional in the moment, we didn't realize that all three plays that preceded that crazy play at the end were all incompletions. Incomplete to Jacob Cowing. Chris Keys gets a hand in there. Chris, a guy that's having to play a little bit because Hunter Washington did not return after making a big hit early in the ball game. They get Cowing wide open. And again, give Fish and the guys credit, and DeLauro dismisses him wide. And Cowing, I'll tell you, he should have had the football. He probably should have. Both guys will take the blame for that. If he catches it, it's probably a different scenario playing out. 3rd and 10. This ball is a little bit behind McMillan. He wanted a flag. There was absolutely no chance of flag, nor should there have been. The ball was uncatchable. DeCamerion gets credit for the PBU here. And that's the thing. You go back earlier, DCam gets called for the hold on Cowing, and it was, right? He didn't pout. He didn't jump up and down. And then here he is here in a game situation late. There's a little bit of contact. It's just two guys making a play. And the ball's thrown a little bit off target because Buki's in DeLauro's face. So there was no chance of a pass interference penalty there. Shouldn't have been. And I want to go ahead and get this out in front of this. I commend the Pac-12 officials for getting this right. Because I don't know. It would have been real easy just to say, what, the call stands. That would have been easy to say and say, we're not going to determine the outcome of this ball game. We're going to let the kids sell it on the field. And you could argue they did sell on the field, and you guys missed the call, and that's what review is there for. But it would have been very easy for this Pac-12 crew that has been muchly maligned to say, you know what? I'm not making this call. DeLauro is flushed and chased and chased and chased and then decides just to take off and go. And he runs with the ball in his right hand as a right-hander, right? That proved to be significant. He didn't switch the ball to the left side when he hit the left sidelines. And maybe he's not comfortable running with the football under that arm. I don't know. But as he is running ahead for, forever, it seemed, is credited for 9 yards. I think he ran 37 yards. I think that's right. Deshaun Page kind of trips him up a little bit, and he's stumbling forward, and Marcus Banks comes up. Not a big hit, but Banks comes up and initiates some contact. And, again, it all kind of works hand in hand. He may have gone down just based off the Deshaun Page getting a paw on him. But the left elbow is down short of the line to gain. Now, Jordan Rogers sometimes, I think he and I are watching different games. Like he's like, I think the chains are actually at the 14.5. Well, no, Jordan, they're not because it's overtime and the possession starts at the 25-yard line. In the game of football, you have to achieve 10 yards in order to earn a first down. So if we start at the 25, you got to get to the 15. And listen, I know some of you guys like Jordan Rogers and have a crush on him or whatever. I think he's among the worst. I go back and watch a replay of the game, and there's so many times in that ball game I thought, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? At least he could do is mention the Muscadine Ripple ice cream or something and find something productive to say. There was no chance that the chains were ahead of the 15. It's just not within the scope of the rules of football. But nevertheless, elbow down, and the ball is under the right arm kind of tucked against the chest. So because everybody's focused on the left elbow. It's not where the elbow was. It's where the ball is as the elbow touches. The left elbow is slightly short of the line. The football is well short of the line. It was an easy call, and I've seen some of these fake media people on Twitter, Arizona was hosed. Well, they weren't. It was an exciting end to a ball game, one that I'll probably never forget. But Jaden DeLauro was down, short of the line to grain. Again, and the officials from his own conference confirmed that. It wasn't like it was SEC officials trying to protect an SEC member. It was the right call. And Jaden DeLaura is an absolute warrior. The fact that he even made the game as close as it did is a testament to him and his teammates. Absolutely is. All right, looking at some individual numbers here. We spent a lot of time talking about this. DeLaura, 32 of 46. State caught 4 of those passes. 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, and of course the 4 picks, and sacked just once, and that's when we ran him out of bounds. He also ran for 44 yards. That's what he's credited with. I think he ran about 250 yards. The kid's incredible. Michael Wiley credited with 33 yards rushing on 11 carries. Rayshon Luke, 2 for 11. Wide receiver-wise, McMillan, big game, 8 for 161. Of course, the 2 big ones, the 55-yarder to set up a score, and then they had the other big play. I guess it was 55 yards as well, or something like that. Yeah, 55 was too long. It's nuts. But McMillan was the dude. Michael Wiley, 8 for 60, and that's kind of a controlled thing. Jacob Cowing, we do a great job with him, and I'm sure he hates to see us coming. 7 for 31, and one of those ones was the touchdown for 17 yards. So you back that away, just 6 catches for 14 yards. So State does a really good job defensing Cowing, for sure. On the Mississippi State side of things, of course, Woody Marks, 123 yards rushing. That's back-to-back big games for Woody. And remember, he missed half of the fourth quarter. Will Rogers had a very efficient 13 of 17, 162 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sacked twice. It felt like he was more than that because there were a couple times we had just threw a ball away. But one time, Will does a great job evading pressure and getting out to Woody. But guys, we got to get Will more involved. And again, maybe that was part of the game plan. I don't know, or maybe Will's checking into some plays that he sees. But we were gashing him early. But I don't know why with a beat up Arizona secondary we didn't test the secondary a little bit more. Now the argument's always, why throw it when you can just run it, right? Well, there were some times we had some opportunities to make plays and we didn't. Seth Davis 5 carries for 34. Simeon Price 1 for 8. Jeff Pittman just 3 for 4. But of course, the big touchdown there in overtime. Right? Tula Griffin, 5 catches for 83, a pair of touchdowns. Woody Marks, 4 for 32. And Jeffrey Simeon, Jaden, and Justin Robinson all with a catch apiece. Got to get those wide receivers more involved, if you ask me. You said, well, Steve, we won the ball game. Yeah, but it should have been close, right? Looking at some defensive numbers, you could make an argument, you could make a case for several guys on the Mississippi State defense for being nominated for the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. I don't know who wins it, but Jed Johnson certainly deserves to be nominated. 11 total tackles, 2 TFLs, 1 sack, and 2 interceptions. There's not going to be a lot of people that fill up the box score quite like that. Bookie Watson, 10 tackles, also an interception. DeCam, 9 tackles, pass breakup, and State in their face all day. I mean, discredited with a handful of hurries, but State, in quarterback hurries is probably the most inconsistently kept stat of all time. But State getting some hands on some footballs. What's it, 8, 9 pass breakups? A pretty good effort there, right? We're getting our hands on some footballs. Good win for State, but again, some teachable moments here for sure. And some things from a coaching standpoint, we got to do better. Some things we simply have to do better to put our young men in a position to go make plays. It's time for today's top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Blair Chandler is a mortgage professional. And days like these, you need somebody that knows how to navigate through the labyrinth of mortgage origination. If anybody can get you to the closing table, it is Blair Chandler. And it seems like I got a weekly update. Hey, new approval on a Boneyard loan. New closing on a Boneyard loan. So it's clearly working out well for Blair and for you guys. So this is a guy that's been in the industry 22 years, back-to-back close ratio. As I mentioned, it's now permissible under state law for a customer to borrow, a borrower, that's probably the better term to use, at the age of 18. Provided they have a co-signer. Blair can walk you through that too. It's probably something you may want to consider if you've got some young people in your life that are going to be renting or perhaps getting a start at life. You can assist them with that and build some equity. And get all the details from Blair at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. You never know when life's going to happen to you. And it pays to have somebody with the experience that can help you get through this as quickly and as expediently as possible. That's Blair Chandler at closewithblair.com. Okay, we're going to do late 80s, early 90s pop synth band, one of the legendary bands. From across the pond, we're going to do New Order. They were actually founded in 1980. They were kind of a contemporary of Depeche Mode. They toured for a while, took about a 5-year hiatus, took a break, and now they're back. And you guys, there's a lot of songs that you know from them, but maybe you don't know the name of them. But this is pretty crazy. This is a band, too. Many of you remember Joy Division, right? You remember those guys? So Joy Division was kind of like, in many respects, kind of the mother love bone of the modern synth pop genre. And then Ian Curtis committed suicide, and then New Order kind of arose from the ashes of Joy Division. Absolutely great band. Here's your top 10 New Order tracks. Number 10 is The Perfect Kiss. The Perfect Kiss, number 10. Now, speaking of kissing, kissed my wife goodbye for a few days earlier. It seems like everybody that stopped me at Davis Wade Stadium said, hey, Dana's doing a great job with the top 10 list. We'd like to hear more from her. Well, I'll tell you this. This is not a reflection of her. She did do a great job on the Nirvana list, if such a job can be done. But some people were suggesting that Nirvana was going to be the most listened to playlist of all time in the history of the Boneyard. We've been doing this for over 3 years. Poison is still number 1. Guys, Nirvana did not even crack the top 25. So the point remains, and I've said it many times on this show, there were a lot of people that say, hey, Nirvana, they're this, but you don't want to listen to them. The list didn't do well. Roy was shocked. I saw Roy and Elsa and some of their friends waiting around to get a picture of Will Rogers after the ball game on Saturday. And he goes, hey, man, I don't know how you're going to take this, but the Nirvana list tanked. Well, I don't think it's about the presenter. I think it's about the product itself. Dana did a good job. Nirvana, again, not what many of you have made them out to be. So you can go down to Spencer's Gifts and you can get you some cheap t-shirt, with the smiley face with the bullet hole between the eyes, and you can walk around and understand that not everybody supports that. Our Soundgarden list, much better. Our Pearl Jam list did much better. Our Alice in Chains list did much better. Most of our 80s rock covers, much better. So there's a bit of a satisfaction, I guess, with that. I mean, I supported the list. I tweeted it out, put it on Facebook like we always do. You guys just didn't listen to it. You just didn't listen to it. New Order might actually do better than Nirvana. I'm interested to see. Number 9 on your list of New Order tracks, The Vanishing Point. And some people believe this is one of the best songs on their best album of Temptation. And maybe it is. I don't agree with that. But I know a lot of people really dig the track. And there's a thing, too. There's some parallels, obviously, between the Joy Division, New Order, Nirvana, Foo Fighters type tree right there, right? So you had a band, of course, that emerged from Nirvana after Kurt Cobain's suicide, and Dave Grohl doing a great job with the Foos, one of the biggest headliners in the country today when it comes to rock music. All right, number 8, Round and Round. No, it's not the cover of the Rat track, but it is more dancey than some of the other stuff. A lot of up-tempo stuff in the New Order catalog. I dig them. I don't like them as much as Depeche Mode. I don't. I'll just go ahead and say it for you. I don't. I like the edge of Depeche Mode. I like Dave Gahan's voice better. But New Order, still kind of a global sensation. Still selling out arenas all over the world. Number 8, a song that's a little bit of a love song, which really doesn't match the rest of the catalog. That's one of the things I dig about it. But it's Thieves Like Us. It talks about being thick as thieves, right? It's really about you and your significant other. And so I hope that's really the bond that you share. Number 6, kind of throwing it back in a different direction, it's The Age of Consent. That's number 6. I will not expound upon that. Number 5, one of the best synth pop songs of my generation. It's a song called Regret, and you're going to know it as soon as you hear it. You can see I never knew it was New Order. I never knew that was the name of the song. But it's Regret. Number 5, I could make a case this probably should be a little bit higher. Number 4 is Temptation, the title track, again, off what many consider the best album of the New Order catalog. I think you'll dig that one a lot. Number 3 is a song that you have heard a million times, and you probably didn't know the name of it. It's Bizarre Love Triangle. That's number 3. A crowd favorite. Number 2, there's a lot of these two that, again, you know them and they've been covered by so many people, you may have forgotten who the originators are. But here's one that I think is very important. It's Blue Monday. Yeah, and a lot of people have covered it, but I don't know that anybody has done it as well as New Order. I like the covers, and there's been a lot of rock bands that have done it too, because a lot of people in modern rock, especially with industrial sound, kind of claim a lineage from New Order. But number 1 for me, and maybe you're different, this was a huge hit on MTV. It's a great song, True Faith. And of course the video begins with like two people slapping each other back and forth to the drum beat. But that's it, number 1 on the New Order Top 10, True Faith. Be sure and check that out, True Faith. Number 10, again, just kind of running back, Perfect Kiss, Vanishing Point, Round and Round, Thieves Like Us, Age of Consent, Regret, Temptation, Bizarre Love Triangle, Blue Order, and True Faith. But again, so many recognizable songs that maybe you've heard a million times in your youth. You just didn't know who sang them, and you didn't know the name of them. Well, now you do. So there you go. A band we hadn't done before. Happy to do it. And we're going to have a pretty special one on Wednesday. And I think this is one that could possibly maybe make a challenge for the top 25. One of the most iconic frontmen in the history of American rock music. We're going to do a covers list. Songs that he and his band covered. And some of you may be able to figure that out, but I'm not going to tell you. So Wednesday, a special list. I know you guys dig the covers. This particular band, this iconic frontman, one of the albums that he did with his legendary band was essentially a covers album. Didn't start out that way, but the band was somewhat disjointed. And the next thing you know, the next album they did was one of the most iconic albums in the history of American music. So Wednesday, there's your teaser for that. Final segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Next time you're in town, go by and see them and their smiling faces. Miss Kathy Brown, the lovely, talented Susie, so many great people up there doing a great job for a great fan base. Very easy to get to, neatly positioned on the backside of campus. You can swing in off of 182, You know, you've seen that Trooper station there? Just take that turn right there. Go by the Trooper station, and right before you get to campus, right there on the left is Campus Bookmart. Go by and check them out. The greatest selection of Mississippi State merchandise in and on Universe. If you can't make it to town, or perhaps game day is not the best shopping day for you, check them out at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. And that'll get you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. We had a pretty good week on our picks as far as straight up. The spread, though, ooh, man, tough. But I think your good friend and host is going to be in good shape before this is all said and done. Wake Forest takes care of Vanderbilt 36-20. We took Wake in the points. We win there. Georgia beats Ball State 45-3. We took the spread there. The spread was 42. So don't tell me that these teams and coaches aren't aware of the spread. They are. And when they can hit it, they do. Kentucky, and so many people, again, can't tell you how great Kentucky is. Guys, they beat Eastern Kentucky 28-17. There are problems offensively at Kentucky. And who would have thought that Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels, put up 17 in Lexington. So 28-17 winner. So Kentucky wins. And I think that was a no-line game until the end. But not a good showing. And if you're Kentucky, you got to be a little bit concerned. You struggled a little bit against Ball State. You took care of business in the second half. You got a joke of a non-conference schedule. What is this team going to do in SEC play? Really glad they're coming to Starkville this year. Ole Miss, 37-20 winners over Tulane. This was a good game. This was a good game. Okay, it was. Much like we expected, though, Ole Miss just simply has more talent. Not surprised to see how it ended up. Of course, Pratt didn't play for Tulane, which kind of made a difference, which a lot of Mississippi State fans are like, well, if Pratt plays, Tulane wins. I don't know about that. I just think Ole Miss is too big and physical for Tulane. But the Tulane defensive line beat up the Ole Miss offensive line. And if you're an Ole Miss fan, you should be rightly concerned about that offensive line. When you get an SEC play, it's not going to be a bunch of G5 guys. It's going to be some sure enough war daddies. That's going to be a real issue. And a lot of people thought Quinshon Judkins can be the SEC Player of the Year. And maybe he could be, but I just don't know about the offensive line at Ole Miss paving the way for that. A&M upset by Miami, and the game really wasn't close. Probably gives you a little bit of optimism if you're a Bulldog. A&M goes to Miami. I picked A&M, and Miami wins 48-33. It's a good win for Miami. Not great for Jimbo, because you think about the gauntlet they got to march in the SEC, and you're already dropping a non-conference game. I picked these guys to be 8-4 and be a game better than Mississippi State in the bowl pecking order. I didn't anticipate them dropping Miami. So A&M, a little cause for concern. Arkansas 28, Kent State 6. Listen, I don't know if they're fully utilizing the strengths of KJ Jefferson. Of course, Rocket didn't play, right? And so if Rocket plays, you'd like to think it'd be a blowout. But we talk about what's going on at Mississippi State. It's because we're so acutely aware of what's happening at Mississippi State. But Arkansas offensively has not been what we expected them to be. And again, you got to take into account that Rocket didn't play. But 28-6, I just don't know if Dan Enos knows how to use KJ Jefferson, who I think is a star. How about this? Tennessee beats Austin Peay, the Governors, 30-13. I expected a much bigger blowout. I thought Tennessee would stretch their legs a little bit. They did not. And this was still a game. Late in the second half. Still a game. But Tennessee gets some separation late. Kind of the difference in the strength and conditioning programs take over. Texas goes to Tuscaloosa and beats Alabama. So congratulations to Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. Is Texas back? Maybe. Alabama has quarterback issues. They had this quarterback competition throughout the spring and early fall camp, and a lot of people thought, well, okay, it's settled. We talked about that on the show. So many people are talking about Will Rogers having to do some things that maybe he's not comfortable doing. They didn't even factor into the fact everybody's like, hey, Alabama should contend for an national championship. They didn't know who the quarterback was. They got some issues. They do. 34 points. And when have you seen an Alabama secondary give up as many big shots as they did against Texas? Quinn Ewers, a great job over there. They almost pulled it off, Middle Tennessee State. We picked Middle Tennessee State to cover against Missouri, and they did cover. Missouri, 23-19. Wouldn't it be a great year to play Missouri? We're not going to. But again, this is a Missouri team. I don't know what to make of them. I mean, you've got some offensive skill. You got a veteran quarterback, but they can't score, and they can't stop people from scoring. A lot of people thought, well, they'll be back on track. I think Eli Drinkwitz is in trouble. LSU, in their first meeting ever against Grambling, which again is a shame. It is. But they right the wrong, and then they go out there and just absolutely destroy Grambling 72-10. Do we know anything about LSU? I don't think we do. I know a lot of people are still hung up on the Florida State game because you can't tell anything about a team when they beat an FCS opponent. They lose, obviously you can figure out a lot. But guys, this ball game, this Grambling LSU game after one, it was 14-10 LSU. And then the rest of the way, LSU shuts them out, outscoring them 58-0. But it's interesting, hey, you look up midway through the first quarter, it's 7-7. You're like, okay. The next thing you know, it's 14-7. Then it's 14-10. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Jaden Daniels goes 18 of 24, 5 touchdown tosses. Garrett Nussmeier gets in the game late, 4 of 6. Diggs has 115 yards for Alabama, for LSU. They were really struggling to find a true running threat. Maybe one is emerging, but they kind of did it by committee. They had 4 running backs that all got 6 or more carries. Diggs got the most with 15. And they got to find some. How does LSU not have a star running back? And is John Emery like on a milk carton somewhere? I mean, what has happened there? Malik Neighbors, 5 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. So kind of, and we'll preview LSU considerably as the week goes on. But again, you can tell nothing about that game against Grambling. All due respect to Grambling and the ghost of Eddie Robinson, LSU basically kind of goes through the motions and win the ball game because the talent differential is just ridiculous. Florida, 49-7 winners over McNeese State. We expected that. And good for Florida to kind of get out there and, be able to kind of get their legs under them a little bit because things were so herky-jerky against Utah. And give Utah some credit for that. But Florida goes home in the swamp. They take care of business. Of course, Mississippi State wins 31-24 in overtime over Arizona. Furman gives South Carolina all they want. I said this South Carolina team's a 500 team. I've seen no evidence at this point to change my mind. I think South Carolina, again, will go as far as Spencer Rattler will take them, but he does not have much help around him. I know you look up there and say, well, Steve, it's 47-21. Guys, did you keep up with this game at all? I mean, honestly. Late in the second quarter, they start kind of pulling away a little bit. In the second half, they had their way with them. But it's 27-14 at the break, and a lot of that is because of, as I'm looking here, a lot of this is because they scored late. It was 20-14 in favor of South Carolina. And so basically the last play, they run some 2-minute offense and they score to get some separation before the break. Again, with a minute or two to go in this half, it's a 1-score game. How good is South Carolina? I don't think we know. But I think there's a lot of room for optimism if you're a Mississippi State fan to think, we got a chance to go over there. But again, it's a mobile quarterback. That's been kind of our kryptonite in recent years. Auburn, 14-10 winners over Cal. Talked to my buddy Jason Caldwell earlier today. They just couldn't get out of their own way. Just 10 of 17 passing. That's not good. Fumbled on the very first drive. 94 yards passing. Jarquez Hunter plays. There was some speculation earlier this year that he may not. He was the leading rusher, 11 carries for 53 yards. But as a team, just not much going on offensively at all. And they win the game 14-10. Not an impressive showing. That was a question I asked Jason. What in the world has happened to the offense at Auburn? Again, this is a team that is kind of talent deficient due to some losses in the portal. And they went out and signed some big receivers out of the portal, but they have not been able to get those guys going. I think a lot of that, too, is you can be big and physical, but you also have to be athletic. And I don't know if these guys really are. And as Jason said, there's a lot of discussion about them using more of their slot guys and try to get quicker and faster and more athletic on the field. So we'll see. But Auburn's 2-0. Auburn's 2-0. Beginning of the year, I wasn't sure if Auburn could go to Cal and win. I convinced myself otherwise after a week's worth of watching football. But that's your dub. Kind of getting a quick look ahead here at next week. And again, we'll preview this in depth on Friday. But looking at week 3, and again, hey, it only gets tougher from here. Of course, LSU is at Mississippi State. Kansas State's in Missouri. If you're Kansas State, you got to like that matchup. South Carolina's at Georgia. If you're South Carolina, you can't like that. Alabama's at South Florida, which they'll probably run all over those guys. UL Monroe is at Texas A&M. Tennessee is at Florida. Remember when that used to be the game of the year? Samford's at Auburn. Vandy is at UNLV. Georgia Tech's at Ole Miss. BYU is at Arkansas. Akron's at Kentucky. So should be some interesting games. A lot of conference matchups. A lot to look forward to. Should be our best weekend of football to date. And we'll see how it goes. LSU currently favored by 10 over Mississippi State. We'll watch that line closely. I've got a lot of friends, as you guys know, down in Baton Rouge, and even got some relatives on my wife's side of the family. And they're always like, hey, I don't know why LSU is favored as much as they are. Well, I think a lot of it's just because of just talent. The LSU, one of the top recruiting teams in the country, they always have talent. So we'll see. We got our hands cut up. We got our work cut out for us, right? What in the world? Hands cut? Come on, give me a break, Steve. Yeah, we got our work cut out for us. I mentioned to you guys, too, before we get out of here, it was a big recruiting weekend over the weekend. Big recruiting weekend. Maybe you've kept up. Maybe you haven't. So let me get you up to speed here, and you can go read these articles for free over at genespage.com. Nice commitments in all 3 major sports. Let's run it down for you if we can. Let's see here. Ja'Cory Whited, we talked about him recently, mentioned him. I do that What's Next from Mississippi State article. Ja'Cory Whited, it's a guy we mentioned. It could be the next guy to commit. He was. 4-star tight end. Dare I say it? Dare I say it? I'll just go ahead and say it. I like him better than Jay Lindsey. I know a lot of people are like, well, I really wanted Jay. I wanted to be Alabama for a kid. Listen, great young man. I think Ja'Cory Whitehead's a better athlete. Or Whitehead, is a better athlete. I like the trade. I think if you had told me at the beginning of the year, this is how it worked out, I would feel pretty happy about that. Kind of reminds me of that deal where we wanted Miles Mason. We passed on Miles Mason. Remember that? And he ends up moving on from Arkansas. Maybe you've forgotten. We got Aaron Brule in the deal, right? Aaron Brule was at Georgia, and he was who we wanted initially anyway. So to me, this is similar to that. I think, hey, would I have been happy with Lindsey? Yes. I'm happier with Ja'Cory White. Again, maybe you see it differently, but that's how I see it. Okay, Eli Walker out of Gulfport, by way of Jones College, has committed to play Mississippi State baseball. Now, he'll be a 2024 kid. He'll spend this year at Jones, and he'll enroll in big, strong, strapping right-hander, throwing 92, 95. Things have really taken off for him. Not sure what he's going to be. State finds out about him, has him come in and throw for the staff. Next thing you know, kid's committed. Grew up in an Ole Miss family. Both grandfathers played football at Ole Miss. Had an uncle played baseball at Ole Miss. His dad played tennis at Ole Miss. Mom went to Ole Miss. But said, you know what, growing up and kind of seeing Miles Gentry and Jonathan Holder and what they accomplished at Mississippi State, he just said, hey, state baseball's different. State baseball's different. So he's headed to Starkville. And happy to have it, for sure. And then in addition to that, it's pretty crazy. Think about this, but Delquan Warren, a 4-star point guard, commits to Chris Jans. So over the weekend, State gets a 4-star tight end, gets a big-time pitching prospect that we like a lot out of Jones, and then on top of that, you get a 4-star point guard for Chris Jans. So you get a big dub. We also had a couple baseball scrimmages, and so on Wednesday, I'm going to bring you guys up to speed on what I saw Wednesday or Friday and Sunday at Duty Noble Field. So we'll talk about that some on Wednesday's show. Today was going to be all football. We had a lot going on. Now, if you're going to be in town for the LSU game this weekend, we don't have times yet, but we will have a scrimmage both Friday and Sunday afternoon. And, of course, football, 11 a.m. Saturday. So if you're going to come to town, and chances are you're going to be here anyway for football, you got to come Friday night. You're getting off work early. Maybe leave a little bit early, guys, and come enjoy the scrimmage. Get up, go to go to football. Let's beat LSU. And then maybe if you're hanging around all weekend, maybe you had to get the 2-night minimum deal at the hotel. Maybe you got a condo here. Spend the whole weekend with us in Starkville. It was a good time. And my wife is like, I got to go back to work to get some rest. Because you're working me to death, taking all these pictures, going all these games. I run a tight ship. I do. But full coverage of that, and more times than not, we're the only game in town covering fall baseball. So that's VIP content. You need to be a member at genespage.com to see that. But we'll give you a little bit of a primer on Wednesday, kind of what I've seen, what I like so far. And, of course, just 2 games, not so much you can tell. But I can tell you there are some young bats that are standing out, and there are some old arms that are coming back. And so, again, it's fall baseball, but it's still baseball. So it's good to see those guys get out and swing it around and throw it around pretty good. So full update on that come Wednesday. All right, let's get out of here. If you hadn't done so, go to whenthebottomfalls.com. That's whenthebottomfalls.com. And you can order my newest book that'll be out next month and all the sports books. That's Alpha Dog, Stark Villains, Flim Flam, Dogpile. Every Bulldog fan in the world needs a copy of Dogpile, even if you don't read. You need that because at some point you want to go back and relive that national championship year. And, 10, 15, 20 years from now, your grandkids are going to be old enough to appreciate that. They may want to read it, but you need to have that as a keepsake at Dogpile. And, again, I appreciate so much the support. I have so many people that come up to me and say, hey, Steve, I've got all your books. You know what that means to me? I spend a lot of time pecking away at this keyboard, a lot. And so it's pretty cool that you guys are paying attention. And When the Bottom Falls, we'll have it out to you soon. I mean, it's like we're just everything's typeset now. We're just kind of waiting for the for things to get printed, and then we'll have your books. That's exciting. And then I don't know when the next one is. I know we talked about doing one next year. We'll see. We'll see. I get lonely sometimes around here, but with the new business opening up, who knows how much time I'll have? But maybe just write it there on site. And for those of you that don't know, my wife's business, which is our business, but she'll be the face of that, is a company called True Rest. You can go to truerest.com and learn more about float therapy. It's amazing. We were just talking about that a while ago. I'm the kind of person, I'm always engaged. I'm always doing this. I've always got somebody with expectations pulling on me. Everybody needs this. And Steve, can you write this? Steve, can we talk to you on the radio about this? Steve, can you do a Zoom call here? Can we do a video? It never stops. I'm not complaining. But to be able to have the ability to go float for about an hour and just kind of shut everything down for a while, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And we're going into the old Chalet Frame Shop in the University Crossing Shopping Center, right next to Little Caesars, of all places. And that's where my first job was. So that, besides cutting grass, not that particular location, but I was. And if you've worked at Little Caesars, you know what I'm talking about. There are bubbles in the third oven, and I'll just leave it there. But all that said, we're excited about it, and every day that goes by, good things continue to happen, and so that'll happen later this year. So. We hope to have the complete build-out done here in a couple months and hopefully be open, maybe we'll be able to start doing some pre-sales for Black Friday and start getting you guys lined up to come float. I'm telling you, if you have chronic pain or anxiety or if you just need to relax, True Rest is super, super cool. And I'll tell you, they've got it all laid out. We kind of know how things are going to go and how they're going to look. And it's going to be unlike anything else in Starkville. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to spare every expense, but we're not cutting any corners because that's the people we are, and we think you deserve to have the best, right? I mean, how many times in life, like, oh, we're going to do this, and you look up and it's like, well, it's just okay. Nothing is just okay for us, and we're going to make sure we do a great job for you and look forward to having you come visit us. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.